I've only shared this story a handful of times, and even then, I brace myself for skepticism. It's so far-fetched, so steeped in the uncanny, that I sometimes doubt it myself, despite living through it. There are moments when I wonder if it was all a vivid hallucination, a trick of a child's overactive imagination. But 6 years is too long for a delusion to persist, and the fact that my family felt it too, saw its impact on me, anchors it in reality. The scars, both physical and emotional, are undeniable proof. This is the story of the thing in our basement, how it tormented us, and how it reshaped my life in ways I'm still unraveling. It began in the spring of 2002, a few months after we moved to an old family farm in rural Canada. My uncle had passed away, leaving the sprawling property to my mom, and we'd crossed 2 provinces to attend his funeral and settle into the house. Built in the 1920s, the farmhouse was a relic, its weathered boards and sagging roof steeped in nearly a century of history. The creaking floors and faded wallpaper seemed to hum with the weight of lives long gone, as if the house itself could outlast us all. I was 11, full of curiosity, but even I sensed something wrong. The basement was the epicenter, a heavy, oppressive malice that hit you the moment you stood at the top of the stairs. It wasn't just the damp chill of an old house. It was a raw, seething hatred, like an unseen presence glaring at you with utter contempt. As a kid, I turned my fear into a game, a test of courage. I'd stand on the top step, heart pounding, and inch my way down, pausing for 30 seconds on each stair. The air grew thicker with each step, the hatred swelling until my throat went dry, my palms sweated, and my pulse raced with panic. It felt like the basement was alive, pushing me out with its loathing. When I couldn't bear it, I'd sprint upstairs, hiding in my room until the feeling faded. For nearly a year, I played this game, not noticing that the number of steps I could manage shrank from 8 to just 3. Whatever was down there was growing stronger, claiming more of its territory. The basement wasn't just a place. It was a presence, a force that seemed to know me, to single me out. I'd lie awake at night, replaying the feeling of that hatred, wondering what could generate such raw malice. The house itself was old, yes, but this was different. It wasn't creaky floors or drafty windows. It was something alive, something aware. I'd catch myself staring at the basement doorway, a dark rectangle between the living room and kitchen, half expecting to see those eyes I hadn't yet glimpsed. My siblings felt it too, though they brushed it off as the house being creepy. My mom, with her sharp intuition, knew something was wrong but didn't press me. I was too young, too stubborn, to admit how much it scared me. By fall 2003, I avoided the basement at all costs. But one day, I had no choice. I needed to grab a loaf of bread from the freezer down there. I figured I'd be quick, in and out before the fear could take hold. Standing at the top, my stomach knotted with dread, I started down. On the 3rd step, something grabbed my foot, a firm, deliberate grip, like a large hand pressing down. I stumbled, tumbling the rest of the way, my head cracking against the concrete wall at the bottom. Dazed, vision swimming, I lay there and glimpsed something under the stairs, a dark shape with narrow, glowing yellow eyes. I brushed it off as a concussion-induced vision, but the memory of that grip haunted me. It wasn't just a trip, something had caused it, something intentional. My mom helped me upstairs, her face pale with worry, and later, I found a deep cut on my foot, too precise to have come from the fall. Deep down, I knew it had appeared just before I tripped. The scar remains, a faint but constant reminder of that moment. I stopped going near the basement after that, making excuses to dodge any task that required it. I'd say I was too busy, had homework, anything to avoid that doorway. But the thing wasn't content to stay below. By February 2004, it was reaching out. As I passed the basement doorway, positioned cruelly between the living room and kitchen, so I couldn't avoid it, I heard whispers, low and guttural, spitting words like leave, hate, and no. If I lingered too long, the whispers grew louder, taunting me to step closer, to come down. Shadows flickered at the edge of my vision, dark forms slinking near the stairs, those yellow eyes flashing briefly before vanishing. Once, as I fled, I swore I heard a low, mocking chuckle, like the thing was amused by my fear. It was no longer confined to the basement. It was seeping into the house, into my life. I tried to ignore it, to pretend it was just the house settling or my imagination running wild. But the whispers followed me, growing bolder. I'd hear them even when I wasn't near the stairs, faint murmurs that seemed to come from the walls themselves. I'd catch glimpses of movement in the shadows, always just out of reach, always gone when I turned to look. The house felt alive, watching me, waiting for me to slip. I stopped sleeping well, my dreams filled with those eyes, that chuckle. I was 11, too young to understand what was happening, but old enough to know it wasn't normal. By June, it had invaded my bedroom. I slept on the main floor, in a room that used to be the porch, and one night I woke to that same hateful presence. I opened my eyes, and there it was in the corner, a shapeless mass with those piercing yellow eyes boring into me. Fear paralyzed me. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. It didn't approach, just watched, its malice suffocating. The air felt thick, heavy with its hatred, as if it wanted to crush me. When it finally vanished, I was left trembling, drenched in sweat, my stomach churning. I sat there until dawn, staring at the corner, too terrified to close my eyes. It wasn't a one-time visit. The thing came sporadically, keeping me on edge, never knowing when I'd wake to that gaze. I'd lie awake, listening for the creak of the floor, the whisper of its voice, my heart pounding in the dark. I was 13 by then, too stubborn to admit my fear, too proud to ask for help. But my mom noticed the change in me. My grades plummeted to the low 60s, my sleep fractured by those unpredictable visits. I was irritable, withdrawn, not myself. She admitted she felt the hatred in the basement too, every time she went down there. She'd come back pale, her hands shaking slightly, but she never spoke of it directly. I wanted to tell her it wasn't just the basement, that it was following me, watching me, but the words wouldn't come. I felt alone, trapped with this thing that seemed to know me better than I knew myself. The house became a battleground, every corner a potential hiding place for the thing. I'd avoid the basement doorway, taking the long way around through the dining room, but even that felt unsafe. The whispers followed me, faint but persistent, like a radio stuck between stations. I'd see those eyes in my mind even during the day, their yellow glow burning into me. My siblings sensed the house's eeriness but dismissed it as old house quirks, laughing off the creaks and shadows. I couldn't. The fear was a constant weight, dragging me down, making every day a struggle to stay afloat. Then, in September 2004, it escalated. I'd gone 2 weeks without an encounter, exhaustion pulling me into a deep sleep. I woke to a crushing weight on my chest, pinning me to the bed. Against my will, my eyes opened and I saw it, those yellow eyes inches from mine, its mouth open as if inhaling something from me. Its face was twisted, like a snarling wildcat, its expression a mix of anger and sickening glee. I screamed, but the sound was gone, stolen by the thing, as if it had consumed my voice. Burning hands gripped my arms, searing my skin with unnatural heat. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. Time slowed, the thing's face inching closer, its mouth gaping wider. I was certain I was going to die, that it would take whatever it was trying to pull from me. Then my mom opened the door, light flooding the room, and the thing vanished. I sobbed, trying to explain, my words tumbling out in a frantic mess. She thought I was delirious, my forehead burning with a fever. But I knew better. Those scorching hands had caused it, their heat lingering in my body like a poison. She let me sleep on the couch, her worry palpable, but she didn't understand the truth. I barely slept after that, haunted by the memory of that face, those eyes. The thing had retreated to the basement, but it had left something in me, a seed of its hatred, growing stronger each day. After that night, I changed. Rage consumed me, erupting over the smallest things. I'd scream at my siblings, snap at my mom, my anger a wildfire I couldn't control. I'd catch myself in moments of fury, horrified by my own behavior, but unable to stop. My mom said it was like I was someone else, a stranger in her son's body. I felt it too, like I was losing myself, becoming something dark and unfamiliar. The basement, once a place of terror, now felt oddly comforting, like it was calling me home. I'd stand at the top of the stairs, tempted to descend, to give in to whatever was down there. It terrified me to realize I was becoming like the thing, its influence seeping into my thoughts, my actions. This darkness ruled me for months, a constant battle against the anger and fear that now defined me. I'd wake up shaking, expecting to see those eyes in the corner, but the thing stayed below, biding its time. I avoided mirrors, afraid of what I'd see in my own reflection. My grades suffered, my friendships frayed, and my family walked on eggshells around me. I was 13, too young to understand what was happening, but old enough to know I was losing control. The thing had planted something in me, and it was growing, threatening to consume me entirely. Then, in June 2005, everything shifted. Wandering the woods behind the farm, I saw a figure through a break in the trees. Curious, I stepped into a clearing and found a young man, maybe 16, dressed in loose 19th century riding gear and a white shirt. He turned, smiling warmly, and an overwhelming calm washed over me. The first time in years I felt free of fear and anger. His presence was the antithesis of the thing in the basement, a soothing light to its darkness. I asked his name, and William reached me like a whisper carried on the wind, faint and distant, like an echo of an echo. I invited him inside for water, feeling an odd familiarity, as if he'd been watching over me for years, a silent guardian I'd never noticed. As we approached the house, his invisible hand took mine, guiding me through the trees. The summer air was thick, the kind of heat that made you feel like you were melting, but his presence was cool, calming. I didn't question why he was dressed like he'd stepped out of another century, or why his hand felt real but invisible. After everything I'd been through, I was too tired to be surprised. But when I opened the front door, the thing in the basement roared to life, its hatred flooding the porch like a tidal wave. I froze, my newfound peace shattered, dreading the return of that torment. Yet William's presence held firm, a shield between me and the entity, pushing back its malice. That night, I slept deeply for the first time in years, sensing William in my room. I'd moved upstairs by then, the porch bedroom no longer feeling safe. I woke once to see him sitting by the door, watching it as if guarding me from the thing below. His nod was a quiet reassurance, and I drifted back to sleep, unafraid. The next morning, I was myself again, happy, in control, the rage and fear gone. My mom hugged me, tears in her eyes, saying she'd missed me. I knew she meant the real me, not the angry shell I'd become. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe, like the house was just a house again. William's presence kept the thing confined to the basement for months. I felt whole, my grades improved, and I laughed again, the darkness lifting like a fog. I'd catch glimpses of William sometimes, a faint figure in the corner of my eye, always smiling, always calm. He never spoke beyond that first whispered name, but his presence was enough. The basement doorway no longer felt like a threat, its whispers silenced, its shadows still. My siblings noticed the change in me, joking that I was back to normal, but my mom's relief was deeper. She'd felt the thing too, though she never knew how far it had reached. But by summer 2006, the thing stirred again, its malice creeping back. This time, it targeted my 1-year-old niece. She began having nightmares, crying out in her sleep, refusing her crib. William shifted his protection to her, and I felt the loss immediately. The fear and anger returned, though less intense, like an echo of the past. I could sense the thing toying with us, forcing William to choose between me and my niece. It was a cruel game, one it knew it could win. I made up my mind, it would be me. I couldn't let it take her, not the way it had tried to take me. I'd stand in its way, no matter the cost. My sister, sensing the house's darkness, called a friend, a shaman, who confirmed what we'd all felt, the presence of something malevolent, something that didn't belong. He said we had to either leave or force it out. A simple cleansing ritual failed, the thing shrugging it off like a minor nuisance. It took nearly a year for my sister to gather enough help, a group of people experienced in such things, to perform a full cleansing. I was at school when they did it, my mom and sister working together to banish the entity. I came home to a different house, empty, peaceful, but missing both the thing and William. The absence of William was a quiet ache, like losing a friend I'd never fully known. The house felt lighter, human again, but his departure left a void. My niece's nightmares stopped, her laughter returning, but I missed the warmth of William's presence, the safety of his silent vigil. I'd never believed in the supernatural before, an agnostic atheist by nature, skeptical of anything beyond the tangible. But living through this forced me to reconsider. Research later revealed I'm a highly sensitive person, in HSP, attuned to things others miss. That's why the thing targeted me so fiercely, feeding on my sensitivity, drawing strength from my fear. I'm one of the lucky ones, freed by William's intervention, but the thing isn't gone. We banished it from the house, but we didn't destroy it. It's still out there, lurking in the shadows, preying on others like me, people who feel too much, who sense what others can't. It hides in dark corners, in basements and bedrooms, planting seeds of hate and anger, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I'm haunted by the thought that others might encounter it, or something like it, without a William to protect them. These entities, whatever they are, can't be fought, only resisted. Once they get their claws into you, their influence spreads like a virus, and without help, it's nearly impossible to break free. The farm is still our home, but it's different now, quieter. I walk past the basement doorway sometimes, pausing to listen, half expecting to hear those whispers again. The house feels at peace, but I know better than to trust it completely. Doors, as I've learned, open both ways, and we didn't lock ours. Somewhere out there, that thing waits, and I can only hope I'll never meet it again. The memory of those yellow eyes, that burning grip, lingers like a shadow, a reminder that the world holds more than we can see, and not all of it is kind. I've tried to move on, to rebuild the life that thing disrupted. My grades recovered, my relationships mended, but I'm not the same. I'm more cautious, more aware of the unseen, the things that lurk just beyond perception. I trust my instincts now, that quiet voice that warns me when something's wrong. The house may be peaceful, but I'm always waiting for that familiar chill, that faint whisper, to return. The thing is still out there, and I fear for those it might find next, those without a William to stand in its way. Sometimes I think about William, wondering who or what he was. A ghost? A guardian? Something else entirely? His presence was so real, so tangible, yet he existed outside the rules of the world I knew. I wish I could thank him, tell him how much he saved me, not just from the thing, but from myself. The rage it planted in me, the darkness it tried to nurture, could have consumed me entirely. Without him, I might have become something else, something closer to the thing in the basement. The farm feels like home again, but it's a fragile piece. I've learned to live with the uncertainty, the knowledge that the world holds things we can't explain. I'm still an agnostic atheist, still skeptical, but I can't deny what I've lived through. The thing in the basement was real, and it's still out there, waiting. I hope I'm ready if it ever comes back.